Hello and welcome back to Voices of Middle-earth. This is our special episode celebrating Tolkien Reading Day. We're thrilled to have you with us again. I'm Nolan Cleveland. Of course, I'm joined by Elijah Reiser. Elijah, how you doing?
Good, Nolan. How are you doing?
If you're loving the journey as much as we do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe down below for more epic adventures and insights. Let's dive back into the magic.
On Tolkien Reading Day, March 25th, we will be celebrating the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. We will also be discussing his themes and exploring the rich world he created. So let's get started. It was established by the Tolkien Society in 2003 to honor J.R.R. Tolkien and his works, particularly the Lord of the Rings, and to encourage readers to explore his writings. The date, however, was chosen because it marks the day Sauron's defeat and the destruction of the One Ring in the story. Secondly, Nolan will read his favorite passage from Tolkien's works. Take it over, Nolan.
All right, thank you, Elijah. Now silently, the host of Rohan moved forward into the field of Gondor, pouring in slowly but steadily like the rising tide through breaches in the dike that men have thought secure. But the mind and will of the Black Captain were bent wholly on the falling city, and as yet no tidings came to him warning that his designs held any flaw. After a while, the king led his men away somewhat eastward, to come between the fires of the siege and the outer fields. Still they were unchallenged, and still Theoden gave no signal. At last he halted once again. The city was now nearer. A smell of burning was in the air, and a very shadow of death. The horses were uneasy. But the king sat upon Snowmane, motionless, gazing upon the agony of Minas Tirith, as if stricken suddenly by anguish or by dread. Merry himself felt as if a great weight of horror and doubt had settled upon him. His heart beat slowly. Time seemed poised in uncertainty. They were too late. Too late was worse than ever. Perhaps Theoden would quail, bow his old head, turn, slink away to hide in the hills. Then suddenly Merry felt it at last, beyond doubt. A change. Wind was in his face. Light was glimmering. Far, far away in the south, the clouds could dimly be seen as remote gray shapes, rolling up, drifting. Morning lay beyond them. But at that same moment there was a flash, as if lightning had sprung from the earth beneath the city. For a searing second it stood dazzling far off in black and white, its topmost tower like a glittering needle, and then as the darkness closed again there came rolling over the fields a great boom. At that sound the bent shape of the king sprang suddenly erect. Tall and proud he seemed again, and rising in his stirrups he cried in a loud voice, more clear than any there had ever heard a mortal man achieve before. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden! Fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter. Spear shall be shaken, shield be splintered. A sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride now, ride to Gondor. With that, he seized a great horn from Gufflaff, his banner bearer, and he blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. And straightway all the horns in the host were lifted up in music. The blowing of the horns in Rohan in that hour was like a storm upon the plain and a thunder in the mountains. Ride now! Ride to Gondor! Suddenly the king cried to Snowmane, and the horse sprang away. Behind him his banner blew in the wind, white horse upon a field of green. But he outpaced it. After him thundered the knights of his house, but he was ever before them. Eomer rode there, the white horsetail on his helm floating in his speed, and the front of the very first Ered roared like a breaker, foaming to the shore. But Theoden could not be overtaken. Fey he seemed, or the battle fury of his fathers ran like new fire in his veins. And he was borne up on Snowmane like a god of old, even as Orome the Great in the battle of the Valar when the world was young. His golden shield was uncovered, and lo, it shone like an image in the sun, and the grass flamed into green about the white feet of his steed. For morning came, morning and a wind from the sea, and darkness was removed, and the host of Mordor wailed, and terror took them. And they fled, and died, and the hoofs of wrath rode over them. Then all the host of Rohan burst into song, and they sang as they slew, for the joy of battle was on them, and the sound of their singing that was fair and terrible came even to the city. Man, just got to say, it's stuff like that in these books that really makes me appreciate Tolkien, and it solidifies my belief that The Lord of the Rings is the greatest fiction book ever written.
Yes, it does.
It's incredible, you know. I
Yeah.
so I in case anybody doesn't know, I read these once a year. I read the books every year in the fall. And last time when I was reading this, I actually had real tears in my eyes. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
Such
that
a beautiful
is.
passage. So, yeah. Okay, moving on. Elijah will now read his favorite passage from Tolkien's works. Take it away, Elijah.
Yes, sir. After the ring is ultimately destroyed, Frodo and Sam awake to find themselves in the field of Cormorant. Aragorn is king, Gandalf has returned, the ring is gone, all is right with the world once again. Well, Master Samwise, how do you feel? He said. But Sam lay back and stared with open mouth, and for a moment, between bewilderment and great joy, he could not answer. At last, he gasped, Gandalf! I thought you were dead. But then, I thought I was dead myself. Is everything sad going to come untrue? What's happening to the world? A great shadow has departed, said Gandalf. And then he laughed, and the sound was like music or like water in a parched land. And as he listened, the thought came to Sam that he had not heard laughter, the pure sound of merriment, for days upon days without count. It fell upon his ears like the echo of all joys he had ever known, but he himself burst into tears. Then, as a sweet rain will pass down a wind of spring, and the sun will shine out the clear, his tears ceased, and his laughter welled up, and laughing he sprang from his bed. How do I feel? He cried. Well, I don't know how to say it. I feel, he waved his arms in the air. I feel like the spring after winter, and sun on the leaves, and like trumpets and harps, and all the songs I've ever heard.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I like
I
that
love that passage.
passage.
That's such a good passage.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the book "Everything Sad Is Untrue" is the um, title of that book comes from Sam saying, "Is everything sad going to come untrue?"
Oh, really?
Just interesting. Yeah, just
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
that's cool.
it's not fantasy or anything. It's just like a biography or something, but just interesting. You know.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
those are our two favorite passages. They're both absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed this Tolkien Reading Day special. Why don't you comment down below? What's your favorite passage in Tolkien? You know, maybe we'll give you a shout out in our next episode. Well, from the Voices of Middle Earth podcast, farewell. May the light shine in your swords. I'm Nolan Quayland.
And I'm Elijah Reiser.